Let us join together in prayer. Divine Spirit of infinite love and wisdom, we come to you in prayer seeking your inspiration and encouragement. We as spiritualists throughout the world unite in prayer as we seek to become more aware of our spiritual understanding and aspire to become known in your likeness. Divine Parent, we yearn for consolation and hope in our time of crisis and need as we pray for your guidance. May you inspire our community to become even more mindful of your presence in our lives as we strive to seek the pleasure in sharing acts of kindness where possible. We know that your love will care and embrace all who are affected by the coronavirus, whether it be in physical or mental health, or indeed offering solace to those in grief. May your divine grace embrace and support them. We, as ambassadors of your message, in being of service to others, pray that your ministering angels will guide us to be steadfast in your mission in bringing comfort to the lonely, help to the needy, and hope to all. Lord of all that has life, may we be ever conscious of your power to uplift the weary and give strength to the weak in their times of need. And for all of this, we simply thank you in return. Amen.
Hello friends, my name is Hazel Martin and I'm here to share a message with you. This message is by Gordon Higginson and can be found on the website of the Edinburgh Association of Spiritualists. The words that Gordon Higginson shares is to help those who are developing, those who have an interest in developing their own abilities of spirit. And I share these words with love. Before you can touch the Spirit, you must first find it within yourself. For all truth, for all knowledge and all love must be found first within oneself. And the Spirit can never touch you and bring love and peace within your being and from your being until you have found it for yourself. And before you can build a picture of love from Spirit, you must learn to find it in this life. For visualization is leading you to vision itself. For words and music are there for you to find in moments and answer something that's for you to live our life in truth. When you have passed through those experiences, then offer yourself to Spirit, not before. Always prepare yourself as a channel for the Spirit that's passed through experiences that's held you tremendously strong. No matter what despair, no matter what misfortune, you stand there with love still radiating from you. Then God will touch you. You will have been chosen then as a channel for the Great Spirit. I want you to look at development and meditation in two different ways. One, you can learn to sit quietly and have a lovely book. I suggest you find a lovely verse and sometimes some beautiful music that touches you, your being. Sit quiet and go through it. Let the emotion come when it touches you. Don't be afraid to weep, and always smile afterwards. As you pass through the experience of being touched by something very beautiful, then you will know what it's like when you really touch Spirit. For that same wonderful impression will be given to you. You will know then what the meaning of inspiration means to you. Thank you for allowing me to share these beautiful words from Gordon Higginson. God bless.
Good morning, everyone. This is Joanne Davies, and it's a pleasure to join you and to address you this morning through Edinburgh Association of Spiritualists virtual divine service. It's wonderful to be able to join you through the medium of the internet here this morning from my home in Cardross in the beautiful west coast of Scotland. And I see we've had other speakers from other parts of the country joining us over the last few weeks. And it's a pleasure to be asked to do this address for you this morning. And it's wonderful that we can all connect together like this during this time of global crisis. And over the last few weeks, I, like everyone else, have been going through anxiety and worry. And I was looking through some of my old spiritual journals for some inspiration. And I came across some words that were given to me by my guide a few years ago. And I felt it would be nice to share these words with you this morning because I feel that they are more significant now than they have ever been before. But before I do that, there's a few other things I'd like to talk about. And it seems that there's an invisible war being waged upon all of us at this time. And, you know, none of us have been through what the majority of people went through during the First and Second World Wars. Most of us have no insight into what that truly felt like. And although we've heard stories from our loved ones and through the teachings of history, none of us can really honestly appreciate the sacrifices and the difficulties that people went through during those times. But certainly our media now is likening this pandemic to an invisible war, and the language being used through the media would certainly make us feel as if we're under wartime conditions. But it most certainly is a different situation. And most of us are probably sick of listening to the media using the word unprecedented. But really that word is the only word that can describe truly what's happening, because this is something that none of us have ever truly experienced before. And so it is leading to mass anxiety, which is completely understandable. And, you know, the media are referring to those essential workers as being on the front line. And I'm sure that I can speak for everyone when I say how much we appreciate the sacrifice that people are making as they go to their work and do their job, looking after the sick and the dying and keeping our essential services running. And so from the bottom of my heart, I thank each and every one of you on behalf of everyone for your service to humanity, because that's truly what you're doing is a great service, and I hope that you don't forget that, even during times where people are dying and morale might be low. It's without doubt that many of us have been affected in different ways by this crisis, and I feel through the acknowledgement and the truth of our existence, we can be sustained through these difficult times. Because as spiritualists, we are incredibly lucky to know that death is merely an illusion. And as we look around at nature, we can see that everything must surely have been created by intelligent design, by an intelligent creator who has provided so much on this earth for us to enjoy. And, you know, God or the Creator is always there, nurturing and loving us if we choose to see that and acknowledge that truth. And, you know, our loved ones who've departed and left this world are ever loving and present within our lives. They never truly leave us. And it is your choice while you're here on this earth to choose to recognise the spirit world or not. But for us who are spiritualists, we are so lucky to know that there is a spirit world, that the consciousness does survive bodily death, and that death is the biggest illusion. And we know as we look at nature that after winter ends, that a new cycle begins. Every single year, that eternal spring comes back. And so we have no fear of death as spiritualists. We know that when our loved ones leave us, that we will not be parted forever. We know that things in this world are truly temporary, and that even when you're going through the worst of times, that it is only a temporary situation, that nothing is truly permanent, for the cycle is constantly flowing and moving, and everything is always changing. And as I was having these thoughts, and as I read the words from my guide, I realised how all of it falls into place as we think about the situation we're going through at this time. So here are the words that my guide gave me a few years ago. I'd like you just to listen to them for a moment. Nothingness, infiniteness, continuation, endlessness, no beginning and no end. A turning point. Go within to seek the answers, for time is infinite, and mastery comes from silent contemplation. This is how the great architect created the universe. Internal guidance is the key. We must have a meeting of hearts, minds and souls with those who have gone on to the spirit realm. If we do, we shall learn great lessons from them. We must share the fruits of our labours rather than being selfish and working only for ourselves and our families. We must share our fruits with all of humanity. Abundance is available to everyone in this world, if only the greedy were to stop trying to dominate everything. Common sense has been lost through the ages, and man no longer takes from Mother Earth what he has the right to receive, nor treats the earth or her creatures with the kindness and respect that they deserve. We must all learn to participate in the continuation of our cosmos if we are to survive. Great vortexes of energies are swirling, and people are often caught up in the tidal waves. People have stopped thinking independently, and this is leading to mass unhappiness and great evil in our world. People in power have insight into these energies, and events are being orchestrated for their personal gain and for great evil. Our planet is going through a great time of stagnation and needs to be re-energised and refreshed. Often humans are not aware of the greater plan and are not learning from the mistakes of the past. With heaven's help, we can start to improve upon ourselves during this earthly journey by communing with Spirit and listening to their advice. John Lennon famously sang, "Give peace a chance." And these words were inspired by the great white spirit, the great light of love. Humans are oversaturated and overcrowded with unnecessary information in their brains through social media and television. And so humans are at great risk of mental breakdown due to stress, which ultimately leads to depression and an inability to cope with life. Man must escape from these harsh limitations he is imposing upon his own mind. A happy, healthy, stress-free person is one who is connected to the great Mother Earth, who gives and receives freely of the Mother and all of her creatures. One who lives in harmony with everything and who realises that materialism is not important, who realises that only love matters, nothing else. When man can clear his mind of all the murky negativity, then he will truly be free. Sometimes we have to realise that simplicity is all we need to find happiness. For money and materialism will not make you happy, and you may lose everything and everyone you love, or have poor health in the pursuit of money. Stopping to smell the roses or the rain brings such simple happiness. Watering your plants and watching them grow, feeding the children and the animals and watching them blossom are surely the only things that man truly needs. Playing an instrument, singing a song, sharing a story or dancing to music with a friend, these are some of the greatest pleasures that we have during this earthly life. So remember, the novelty of a new pair of shoes or the latest car will be good for a while, but eventually it will wear off, and you must ask yourself what it is that you are left with. And when I read back on these words from my guide, it reminded me of a saying that my granny always had: there are no pockets in a shroud. How true are those words from my wise old Irish granny as well. The fact is that you can't take it with you. So this constant hamster wheel that we're on in this life, trying to achieve the material, is futile, because the day comes when you will face your Maker, when you will have to depart this life, and you will not be able to take any of those things with you. And when you look back in your life and look at what was really important, it wouldn't be that pair of shoes or that car. It will be the love and the relationships that you shared with people on this earth while you were here. So, when we look at the current state of affairs in the world and we consider the fact that the media is bringing all the negativity to our attention, what are they doing but feeding the fear amongst us? And what we need to try and focus on are the positive stories from this pandemic, however few they may be. We need to look at the love that's been shared amongst ordinary people, the love that people have shared with their loved ones, but also with strangers. Some people think we're all in the same boat, but I also read that some people disagree and think that perhaps we're in the same storm, but in different boats, and I feel I have to agree with the latter. For some of us have a great big hole in our boats just now, and although we're all sheltering from the same storm, some of us are sailing away in a catamaran and some of us are in a simple dinghy with a hole in the bottom of it. So if you do find yourself in that situation, just get a bucket and keep chucking that water out of your boat, because eventually, if you stay strong in the eye of the storm, you will come out the other side. Some of us have lost family members and jobs and livelihoods. Some of us are isolating at home alone and finding that isolation difficult. And some of us are very worried about elderly relatives who are isolating at home and alone. But let's look at the positives. We've been in such a culture of overworking for such a long time, where busy has been the norm, and most of us have had no time to stop and smell those roses, or to feel or smell the rain. But now we're in a situation where we're being forced to stop. Some of us may have been running on that hamster wheel and running away from grief from the past, running away from depression and inner demons, and suppressing these things like a jack-in-the-box, only for it to pop up now as we're forced to stop. So embrace this time. Face the demons, face the grief, and let go of it. And remember that everything is temporary. Nothing is permanent. Just stop for a moment and breathe. And remember that you are a miracle, and so am I. Believe it or not, the conditions necessary for you to have been born are about 1 in 400 trillion. That's completely mind-boggling, isn't it? So that would tell me that there is some intelligent design, and that you are absolutely meant to be here on this earth right now, going through experiences, however good or bad those experiences might be. And we must remember that those miracles are everywhere. If you have a garden, you can see those miracles of spring, or even if you just have a window box or a green space that you can look out the window at, you can see that those miracles are everywhere around us right now. Time is indeed infinite, and this is a time in our lives where collectively we must all go within to seek those answers. Happiness cannot be found in the material. So, from the dawn of time, man has questioned why we are here, questioned our existence, and observed these parallels between ourselves and nature. So from the dawn of time, man has questioned the purpose of our existence, and we've observed the parallels between ourselves and the rest of nature. We know that the only sure thing in this life is death, and that every creature will eventually come to the end of its life cycle. We know that after the long winter that some things have decayed and perished, but yet we know that that cycle keeps on turning. That wheel is perpetually in motion, and that what might at first seem like a terrifying thing is actually just a transition, it's just a change, and it's a transition into a new life where death ceases to be so frightening. Life on earth is chaotic at times, that's for sure. But one thing is for sure, nature seems to be ordered. Look at the bees and how they live and work together in harmony within their tightly ordered hives. Look at the life of the caterpillar who goes into the cocoon and emerges triumphant and stunning to live but yet a very short life before they come to the end of their cycle. But yet they know their purpose. They know why they have come to earth. So I must say to each and every one of you this morning, remember that you are here for a purpose. And there must be some plan, even if you are not always aware of that divine plan. So remember that when bad things happen, there isn't always a spiritual answer or reason for why these things are happening. But there is a plan, perhaps that we just don't know the full details of yet, and that we may find out more about when our time eventually comes to move into that eternal spring in the spirit world. It is human nature to question and examine the reasons why we're here on this earth, and we're so fortunate to have been bestowed with that higher consciousness that gives us the ability to think and imagine. That consciousness that's been responsible for so many amazing things in our world, made by the hands and brains of men and women. But sadly, when disasters like this global pandemic occur, we can feel powerless against the forces of nature. So remember your purpose. Remember that you are here for a reason and that there is some greater plan. You know, science would have us believe that we're here as a result of the accident that they call the Big Bang. But the age-old question of what came first, the chicken or the egg, leaves an unanswerable question that neither science nor religion can explain. So these words are only my truth, based on my experiences of spiritualism. And I might not have all the answers, particularly to why bad things happen. But one thing I do know is that one day I will find out the answers to those questions. And that while I'm still here on earth, that I must accept the fifth principle of spiritualism, which is personal responsibility. And to know that I do not have to answer for any mistakes here on earth to God on Judgment Day. I only have to answer to myself. Which leads me to consideration of the seventh principle, eternal progress open to every human soul. And so if we are indeed responsible for every thought, word, deed and action during this life, then eternal progress should happen now and not when we pass to the spirit world. The Spirit of God exists within us, around us and within everything. It is within all of us, that divine spark. So during this time of uncertainty and worry, we have two choices. We can become hopeless and depressed and worry about death, or we can consider the opportunities being afforded to us for global change that are being presented to us now. And we can take responsibility now for our actions, our words and our deeds. We can strengthen the bonds of family and friendship. We can reach out to our lonely neighbours in times of uncertainty. We can take stock of our lives. We can try and right wrongs. We don't have to wait until we're dead to do so. God has given us such enormous potential to improve our own lives and the lives of others, and that is called free will. So, make it your personal responsibility to put things right and to reach out every waking moment of your life and to spread your love with all of humanity. As we weather this storm together, some of us do find ourselves with more time in our hands, whether that be good or bad. But we should use it for good, and rather than be bored, use it constructively to help others, so that when we leave this earthly life, there will be no divine judgment. I'd like to leave you now with some words from a Russian author called Elena Mikakova, and she wrote a book called The Room of Ancient Keys, and this passage from her book is entitled Some Advice from Grandma. During difficult times, you move forward in small steps, and you do what you have to do little by little and bit by bit. Don't think about the future, not even what might happen tomorrow. Just wash the dishes, do the dusting, write a letter to a friend or a loved one, and make a pot of nourishing soup. Do you see? You are moving forward step by step. Get some rest and compliment yourself, and take another step and then another. You won't notice, but your steps will grow bigger and bigger. And the time will come when you can think about the future without crying. Take care, and God bless.